Hey guys, welcome back to Wood Tree Farm. I'm Phil, and today we're going to talk a little bit about my plans for next year and plans for growth for the firewood business in particular. It has been a journey here the last couple years, and I started selling a little bit of firewood on the side, and it has grown and grown and grown every year to the point at which it's doubled every year up to this point, though last year kind of floundered a bit, mostly just because of my output or lack of output. If I had more inventory, I would definitely been able to have sold it and would have made a lot more money selling firewood. But I'm talking a little bit more about my 2025 goals and my plans to achieve those goals. But first, we're going to fire up the tractor, get some wood, and get splitting. Here we go. So up here next to the kiln is just an area that is cluttered with junk and a couple useful things. It's not all junk, but there's stuff in here that I haven't used in years, and I want to get this little area here cleaned up because there is kind of a turn that could be here between Christmas tree rows and between the kiln, and I can turn and go over towards where the sawmill is and where the wood pile is. So I want to get all this cleaned up. So step one, and this is related to what I'm trying to accomplish here today, I've got this carry-all out here that I haven't actually used in quite some time. It's partially broken, needs some repairs, but it'll allow me to carry some rounds of firewood that I cut across the property up there over here to the wood pile and get them split. So I need to get access to the carry-all and get it out of here, get it hooked up to the tractor, and then I can move some wood. So the carry-all is now on the back of the tractor. I also swapped out and put the bucket on. I had the forks on before. And this kind of exemplifies an efficiency challenge that I have here on my property, because we have this kind of unusual shaped property and we do multiple things on our property. In case you weren't aware, we have a Christmas tree farm, we grow flowers, we do events. So this area up here is my parking area that I need to keep clean and clear for the general public, for when we are open to the public. And it is the only area accessible for the trucks that bring us our logs. So there are times throughout the year where I'm making a bunch of mess doing firewood stuff, and then I need to quickly clean it all up so that we have room for parking. And I'm trying to avoid that in the future. So for now, right now, I've got just logs over here in one corner, and I'm trying to do most of my cutting and splitting back further deep in the property where the wood is going to sit and season for a period. And that is the inherent challenge in this property, because trucks can't get back to where I'm doing the splitting, so I'm constantly moving back and forth between the two areas, and it's about 2 or 3 minutes round trip every time that I want to get from here to back there, and just I feel like wastes a lot of time. But it's what I'm doing here today, and it's what I'm going to continue to do, at least in the short term. And you know, I will continue to think about how I can improve upon that in the future. But for today, talking to you isn't getting anything done. I'm going to load up these rounds, get it on this carry-all, and we'll get back and do a little bit of splitting. So the other day I showed you guys when I was splitting out here, we filled up kind of the far side of that bin, and I just nudged the splitter forward just a little bit, and then we can just split into this corner now. And once this is all mounted up, then we'll move the splitter off to the other side. I do still need to get a hold of some pallets, which I mentioned before when I started building this bin. We're going to build the walls of this on down in that direction, and eventually we'll have the splitter over on that side, adding to that side of the pile. But for now, I figured I can just fill up this end, even mound it up a bit. And this is actually working out pretty good. The bucket emptied very easily. Just raising the bucket right up to waist height and being able to pull the rounds off the bucket onto the splitter worked out all right. And now we've got all these rounds on the back of the carryall that we can split up. So I think altogether this and what was up front was between 1/4 and 1/3 of a cord total. And if I keep making trips like that, you know, I'll get through all of the rounds that I have bucked up pretty quickly. But I'm also bringing logs back here as well and bucking them up in this spot where I'm splitting, so I don't have to spend as much time bringing rounds and loading and unloading rounds like I did this time. Constantly thinking about efficiency, but I've got some big goals for where I want to go, and that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about here real quick, which is if I want to do 100 cords of wood this year, over 100 cords, in order to meet the goals that I want to meet for this year, I need a lot more wood, and I need it quickly. And I think my own production capability is somewhat limiting, so I'm probably going to be bringing in some wood from some other sources, but that's kind of secondary to my main point here. 100 cords a year for some of us seems like a big goal. It's way more than I've ever produced in a year. But if we really start to break it down and set some goals around this, it's only about 2 cords a week, which if you think of it in that perspective, seems very manageable, especially if, you know, something like this right here, I can do 1/3 of a cord every 30 minutes or so. It's going to quickly turn into a problem of, do I have enough logs in order to keep up with that? So that is where my goal is at right now as we enter into 2025, is just thinking about how can I do at least 2 cords a week. I think many weeks I should be able to do more than that, but also keeping in mind firewood is not my only task that I need to do every week. It's not my only business. I have another business outside of the farm, and I have multiple business lines within the farm that all need my attention. So setting a much larger goal where I'm going to be doing firewood for many hours a day every day of the week is not realistic with where I'm at right now. But I think if I just think about doing at least 2 cords a week, every week, week in, week out, eventually I'll be able to pile up enough wood, I think, where I will constantly have some seasoned wood supply on hand. Now, I need to front load this a little bit because right now I have 0 seasoned wood, and I want to make sure here in the next 4 or 5 weeks that I do at least 20 or 30 cords of wood, and that will hopefully front load me, like I said, and then I continue to do at least 2 cords a week for the foreseeable future. So that's how I've broken up my goal. Just think about 2 cords a week, 50 weeks out of the year, 100 cords a year. I think that makes it very, very manageable given what else I have to do in my life between family and kids and the other businesses and the other things that I need to work on day in and day out. So this worked out pretty good, bringing the carryall right up to the splitter and just moving the round straight from there onto the splitter into the bin and trying to minimize the amount of handling. And of course I handled it one time up across property, loading it into the tractor, but that's just one of the things I got to deal with right now. Now this bin, once I get it fully constructed and filled up, will be at least 20 cords, I believe. My goal is to have it 12 feet wide. That's what we have laying on the ground, or 3 pallets wide. So it'll be 12 feet wide by about 60 feet long, and it should average at least 5 feet tall. And I'm actually holding my hand up above my head, which is, I'm almost 6 feet tall, so it should be well over 20 cords. I'm sure somebody's going to do the math and fact check me on that and probably tell me I'm wrong, but that's my goal, is to have this bin filled up with 20 cords here by the end of next month, which you know, I've got 4 weeks or so to fill this up, which means I'm going to be doing more than the 2 cords a week goal to get there. And like I said, I've got to front load my goal a little bit. All the splitting now is going to be done on the Splitforce SF9T, which is my new machine. In case you missed my recent update where I talked about I got rid of my Wolf Ridge and this is my only machine now. Unless somebody else wants to bring me a demo to use, I'm always happy to try out different equipment. Hint, hint, whoever's watching, bring me some equipment to demo. I'm happy to take a look at it and give it a shot. But the Splitforce did great on this. A couple things I really like about the Splitforce. I think I'm going to do an update video on this here real soon. But one thing that I used to do with my Wolf Ridge was I was constantly thinking about what size wood I was bringing up, and I'd bring all of the 6 to 8 inch stuff up at once, and I'd bring all the bigger stuff up at once because I didn't want to constantly switch out the wedges. This being a single wedge machine, it really doesn't matter. We can throw any size piece of wood up there at any time. I can resplit it as many times as necessary, and because it has its 4-second cycle time, it's pretty quick and efficient to work on whatever we're working on. I think I'm probably also going to do like a speed test with this machine where we'll see maybe how long it takes to fill up an IBC tote, which is approximately 1/4 of a cord. I've got plenty of wood around, I've got plenty of totes around where I can do that. So these are just some thoughts that I have for upcoming videos, and if you guys have any other thoughts or suggestions, you leave those in the comments. But I'm gonna wrap it up for us today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.